Hello there, it's your Hanish of Whiskey Lore, and time for our little whiskey extra. Going into the weekend here with the Highland Park 12 versus Highland Park 18 comparison. I just did a video on Highland Park 12, which I think is an exceptional whiskey for its price point, its beautiful presentation. It is a whiskey that covers a lot of bases, a lot of complexity in it, and the flavors are all very present. Nice mouthfeel to it, that sort of thing. So excellent, excellent whiskey, one that's always in my cabinet. When I bought this bottle, I got a little mini along with it. That was the 18. So I thought, well, this is great. It's a chance for me to try a whiskey that costs 3 times as much. And so here's my chance to, get a sense of what the Viking Pride is. This one is called Viking Pride versus the 12, which is Viking Honor. And so from the island of Orkney, a place I would love to go, not only to see the distillery, but there's another distillery there, Scapa, that I'd like to go to, and someday to see the Northern Lights. And I might actually do a trip where I go to the Orkney Islands and then take a ferry up to the Shetland Islands, where the Shetland ponies are, north of there, because there's actually a distillery, so I understand, up there as well, a little family distillery, one I've never seen a bottling of, but it's a long way from Shetland to the regular part of Scotland. From Glasgow to Shetland, that's quite a haul. So I really, wow. This is not like Highland Park 12. Wow. Okay, no, I got baking spices on this, which are really nice, like maybe a clove and nutmeg coming in. That citrus is still there. Yeah, that caught my attention right off the bat. The smoke is lighter on this, which I expect, because the longer it sits in the cask, the more the smoke is going to sort of fade off. More leathery notes coming in on this, big time. Maybe even a hint of like a dark chocolate, just a little bit. Very, very different profile from the 12. It broke my concentration. I was not like, I can't let that baking spice go. That's really, really nice. Interesting. Okay, yeah, no, I wasn't really picking up the baking spices at all in the 12, but I am getting it here. So, yes, you broke up my daydream about going to Orkney. All right. So, more time in the glass. I did a video here not too long ago about the legs of a whiskey. One of those short videos that I did. It was really interesting because when I was in Ireland, I got into a discussion with a distiller about that. And I said, I had heard someone say that, everybody's got an opinion on things. And it's so funny when you hear somebody so definitively say, no, it's this way. And then you hear a bunch of other people say, no, it's not that way. I was told that this idea of looking at legs was a whole waste of time, because the idea of looking at the legs of a whiskey, you're trying to see how many oils are present in the whiskey and kind of get an idea what the mouthfeel is going to be. And they said, well, a higher ABV whiskey is going to have thicker legs on it. So in that, because it's going to have more oils than a thinner or a lower ABV whiskey would have. So this is just a way for you to be able to see how much alcohol there is in a whiskey. And some things didn't sit right with me about that, especially when a lot of other people are saying, yes, they're dancing a glass around. I can say honestly that, the tongue map thing, I did a whole video on that and a whole podcast around that, everybody, you go on these tours and they're all telling you about the tongue map. In reality, the tongue map is incorrect, that we taste all over our tongue, not just certain flavors in certain sections of the tongue. So there are cases where the majority is wrong, but it wasn't really fitting with me that legs had no, that it was just an ABV thing. Because if it's truly about there being more oils in the whiskey, making it heavier, then you have to think about what causes there to be more oils in a whiskey. And there are so many different things. It could be chill filtering. If you chill filtering, you're cutting out some of the oils from there. If you are distilling, depending on the shape of your pot still and how much reflux you're getting, that could make a difference. Fast or slow distillation. Your barrel can probably have some impact on that as well. And so many other things, because oils really are what filter you're running it through, different size mesh that you may be putting it through. All of these things can affect the oiliness of a whiskey. And so I tend to look at it this way. If the legs are thick and they're running slow, it's probably going to have a nice mouthfeel to it, meaning it probably has some more oils in it. It's going to be a more comfortable whiskey in terms of mouthfeel. But, you know, this, again, is semi-jury still out, but I think this idea that it's just related to ABV is not right, because you could have an extremely thin whiskey, one that has all the oil stripped out of it. I mean, that you have just chill filtered it to death and you've done everything to speed through distillation and you name it, and have it be a high ABV. But if there's not a lot of oils in it, it doesn't matter how high you're going to throw the ABV, because it's you know, it's just not going to have enough oils to really make a difference. So I think the ABV is part of the equation. Okay, so now as I've let this sit a little bit longer, it's like citrus, oak, and smoke coming through on this. It's like the baking spices have settled. I'll get a little black pepper there. That's really interesting. All right, cheers. Interesting, the maltiness. Citrus is there, but it's more citrus rind. There's a peppery, spicy note that comes in on the end, probably coming from the oak. The orange creamsicle is more on the finish here, but it's really thin. It's kind of, it's a nice flavor, but mouthfeel, it's a little underwhelming. It's got sort of that malty, lemony note that comes in as well. Smoke is there. Didn't get so much of a leathery note, but this is very dry on the finish of this. It's interesting how it will give you that orange, but then that orange is thinning a bit, and then it just kind of leads into where it's smoke with a little orange rind, and that's it. It's just down to a very, it's not as complex to me. It is on the nose, but once you get into the whiskey, it's a little less interesting to me. And it could again be this thing where, you know, I'm not an overly big fan of older whiskeys because they become something you really have to sit with, and it's more subtle. And maybe as you're sitting there enjoying it and taking your time and not doing a video with your distraction going on, that with full focus, you can pull a little bit more out of it. But honestly, if you put the two whiskeys on the shelf and told me they were the same price, the 18 or the 12, I would buy the 12 still over the 18. And you add in the fact that the 18 costs two times as much. Yeah, that makes it a no-brainer. There are older whiskeys that I like better, that I think are, I had the Dunville's Irish whiskey, which I think is amazing. That one is not, I think, is it done in a bourbon barrel? I know it's done in Oloroso. Well, they do a variety, actually, and I'll do another review of one of those because I still have some bottles, little mini bottles left of that stuff. But that peppery note, that's really interesting that peppery note just popped in all of a sudden. Very interesting whiskey. Hope you found this entertaining and interesting, informative in some way. Have you tried 18? Have you tried 12? If you've had them both, which do you prefer? Is there a reason why? Leave some comments below. Give me a like if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you want to see more. Ring the bell if you want to know the instant I release the videos. Have a great weekend. Until next time, cheers and Slainte. I must say this is a good whiskey with very good possibilities of stepping up after I investigate it a little bit more. But